From WKYT Podcast, this is Uniquely Kentucky. I'm your host, Amber Philpott. Hello, podcast listeners. Happy New Year. I hope this episode finds you doing well. As I was thinking about a guest list for this upcoming year, I knew it had to include a number of musical artists. It seems in the last year, my ears have been delighted by so many new and upcoming Kentucky artists who are making their mark in the industry. I'm also amazed by the wealth of talent in this state, namely the amount of folks from Eastern Kentucky who are really putting out some incredibly meaningful music, and not necessarily within the confines of mainstream music. These are folks who are carving out a place for themselves and their fans, not on the radio, but rather on streaming sites, on social media, and just simply playing venues all over the place. So to kick off another season of Uniquely Kentucky, I'm sitting down with Brit Taylor. She is an Eastern Kentucky native who is getting ready to release her sophomore album, Kentucky Blue, in February. She is another shining example of the musical talent born and bred along the famed country music highway, or Route 23, that cuts a path through the mountains of Eastern Kentucky. Her new album is being produced by fellow Kentuckian Sturgill Simpson. Taylor says it is a celebration of her own healing and rebirth. We talk all things music, how this record takes her back to her roots, and she tells me why in 2017 she turned off the radio and stopped listening to music in order to find her true self and her own sound that she wanted to craft.
Uniquely Kentucky with Amber Philpott is brought to you by the WKYT News and Weather apps, available on the App Store and Google Play.
Brit Taylor, welcome. I am so excited to meet you as a music junkie. I've heard so much about you, and now getting to hear this sophomore album before it comes out, I'm even more excited to meet you. Welcome. How are you in the new year?
Thank you. I'm good. Just busy as ever and excited for this year.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got a lot going on. For folks, let's start at the beginning. We've got so much to talk about. We'll talk about the new music in a minute, but for folks that maybe don't know you, you are an Eastern Kentucky gal. You grew up, as I understand it, somewhere over there near Route 23 and the famed country music highway. Talk to me about growing up in Kentucky and your roots.
Yeah, I grew up in Knott County. My mom was an elementary school teacher there, and I got involved in school festivals. One of my mom's friends was like, "Have you heard your daughter sing? Like, she sings, like she's on pitch. She has key," or whatever they say. And mom just started kind of just encouraging me, "Sing for me, honey, sing for me," and put me on stage at fall festivals, which is really funny because I was such a shy kid. I was the kid like hiding under the tables. I did not want any attention at all. But she encouraged me in a way that didn't push me. It just I started to love it, and I got involved in the Kentucky Opry Junior Pros in Prestonsburg, which is a great outlet that encourages creativity in young kids. And so I've been playing with a band since I was 7. So
Wow.
at a really cool theater, like let's see, I saw George Jones there, Patty Loveless, Brad Paisley, Dirk Bentley. So I grew up singing at a really nice venue. I remember getting to Nashville and having to sing in a bar, and I was like, "Wait, what? What is this? Maybe I should have stayed in Kentucky."
Were you influenced from an early age? I mean, obviously you were around other great musicians and artists, and obviously being from Kentucky, we have a long list of people that you could look up to. Was there one person or multiple people that you really loved listening to early on?
Yeah, I mean, Patty Loveless was the biggest influence for her songs that she chose to sing, which I later found out, a lot of those were written by Harlan Howard and Costas. And so I learned to start loving songwriting and songs and trying to figure out who songwriters were because of her music, and taking out the lyrics and the CD jewel case and learning who all was involved on the projects. And so Patty Loveless really, I think, swung open the door for me to love country music. And then I found Loretta Lynn after that, and just her honesty in her lyrics, and try to write my own songs being that honest. And I love Dwight Yoakam, of course, Chris Stapleton and Tyler Childers, Sturgill, It's so funny when people ask me who my favorite artists are. They're like, "Oh, that's just because they're from Kentucky." I'm like, "No, that's just because they're the best."
They're darn good, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Brit, it's so interesting because there's like mainstream country and there's mainstream music, and then there's all of this other wealth of talent. And I don't mean to sound, I don't want to put a label on it. I don't want to make it sound like it's not as good. I think it is. It's some of it's even better. It's just hanging around in a different place. Did you find yourself sort of straying away from mainstream and sort of in that other place, because there are all of these amazing artists that are putting their music out? They just don't have maybe a necessary like a title that goes with it, right?
Yeah, it's really a beautiful thing. And I think that it's the coolest thing that's happening in entertainment is that there's so many more avenues to be heard and to get to hear really cool artists that maybe don't fit a certain mold that get, on the radio or TV for the masses, but that are still like just crazy good. I'm just glad there's an opportunity for those kinds of things to, make it to those ears that are supposed to hear it. When I got to Nashville, it was '07.
Wow.
And that opportunity did not exist like it does now. That kind of came a little bit later. I think in like 2016 or a little earlier, people started releasing their own records to TuneCore and it getting on streaming outlets. And I don't think I like made a conscious choice to like, I'm going to do this Americana thing, or I'm not going to do so much commercial stuff. I really just made a conscious, I just asked myself a question. I just asked myself, who are you? Who are you? What do you want to do outside of what you think you're supposed to do? So I actually turned off the radio in 2017. I didn't want to hear anything new, fresh. I didn't want to be influenced by anything. I just wanted to figure out who is Brit Taylor? What am I supposed to sound like? What makes me the most excited about doing music? Because I just got so burnt out and tired of chasing something that just didn't feel, it just wasn't authentic. So yeah, I didn't say, oh, I'm going to make an Americana record, or oh, I'm going to not make a country record. I just made a record that I loved.
Is it scary because when you don't feel like you fit in a mold and you're trying to figure out who you are and you're trying to figure out, I want to put something out into the world, I just don't know where it's going to go and who's going to listen? Is that scary, or is it freeing in a way to say, I don't care because somebody else isn't telling me what to do, I'm just going to put it out there?
Both. It is the most empowering, terrifying thing I've ever done. It's yeah, I think that we're complex. We can feel very different emotions at the same time, and I feel empowered because I got to do it my way, and I got to do something very authentic to who I was. But at the same time, that was terrifying because when you're that vulnerable to be exactly who you are, there's nobody that you can blame for saying, well, they told me to do this or they told me to do that. This one's on me. So that, yeah, it is scary.
You got your sophomore album coming out, but you put out music in 2020, which obviously was it was just such a different time in the world, sort of the world stopped in a way with the pandemic. What was that like, trying to put music out after you had been, I'm assuming, kicking it around for a number of years, trying to get something together to put out into the world?
Yeah, everybody was telling me not to release music. They were like, halt, don't go any further. Like, don't release any music. It's not going to work right now. Like, everybody's stopping their projects. And my dad, is real big into philosophy books, and he's a small town entrepreneur, always starting one business or another. And he'd always taught me that when everybody else stops, you go. And so I just kept kind of hearing that, and my gut kept saying, no, like, this song is for now. It's not going to be for later. It's now or never. Like, you have to release it. And I just felt it in a way I've never felt anything before. But I think because I did start when everybody else stopped, it gave me just a little bit of an open door to get heard, to get noticed. And when you don't have an insane marketing budget, that's very, very important. So I think that had everybody else who had that marketing budget been releasing music at the same time as me, I don't think that I would have gotten the shot that I got because I released in 2020.
Brit, how has, I'm old. I'm an old lady. I'm the old news lady. I barely know Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, but TikTok and other avenues out there. How has that changed the game for artists like you, to be able to put new music out there and to have just different, walks of life be able to get your music and then potentially share it, and then you have an audience that grew for you that you didn't even know it was growing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I have a love-hate relationship with all of it because you have to be very consistent with it, which I'm not always. But sometimes I enjoy posting, and I just try to be authentic with how I'm feeling in the moment and what I want to share with the world. But I think it's changed a lot of people's life to be able to share music online, and there's an opportunity to find really great music because of those outlets, and to grow a fan base. And I'm using it now to promote my record. I made a post about all these pre-orders and that it was available, and I saw my email say you sold a record, and I'm like, oh man, this is cool, this is working. So
Instantaneous.
It really is a blessing.
You are a beautiful gal, but you also added your dog, which I know always helps, because everybody loves, they just love a furry friend that's in there. So when I saw you put out your furry friend, I was like, oh, now she's onto something, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love animals. I have since I was a kid. I've always grown up with dogs. Actually, there's one back there. Whiskey's chilling in the chair behind me.
I see.
I haven't seen the puppy in a minute, so he might be destroying something. But yeah, I'm always posting about my animals because again, that feels like something that's authentic to me, that doesn't make me want to, doesn't make me cringe.
Yeah.
So if you get on my Instagram, you can see goats and donkeys and puppies and cats and chickens, and it's because those are the things that I love and make me the happiest.
Brit, did I read somewhere that you were ready to say, like, I'm done with music or the way the music industry is? And did I see that you were actually, you said you would rather clean toilets than do with this? Did you start a cleaning company, or was that just literally I'm saying that and putting it into the world? And what brought you back?
No, I literally started cleaning toilets.
I love it.
In 2017, I was writing songs for a publishing company, and I had been chasing whatever version of success I thought I was supposed to be chasing and encouraged to chase for 4 years. And I was also going through a divorce, and everything was just painful and hurt. And it was just a really confusing time. And I just decided I needed to start over. And so I turned down, an option on my deal, and I started cleaning houses, and then I started cleaning churches, and then I had enough work that I needed to, have some help. So I started hiring a lot of people. A lot of single moms are usually who I was able to help, and I funded my first record myself. I did shop it, or whatever they call it, to a few industry people who were turned it down, and I was like, well, that's fine. I don't think this is rocket science like it used to be, and there's so many more avenues because of Spotify and social media. I was like, I'm just gonna do this on my own. I'll create my own record label, and I'll clean however many churches it takes to try and market it.
Boy, that's the Eastern Kentucky way right there. You pull yourself up by your bootstraps and say, I'm going to do it. Nobody's going to do it for me. That I hear that in there. Let's talk about this new record. You have put something really lovely out into the world. I am no music critic, but your folks gave me an early listen. So I have gone diligently through it. And I hope this is a compliment to you, but I know this was back to your roots of Appalachia, but I hear some good 80s sound of 80s country ladies that I love. Is that true? Am I hearing that in there? I don't know. It's got a great vibe and a great sound.
Oh yeah, I love the Judds.
Oh,
and Patty. Patty, I guess, was early 90s. Judd's
yeah.
was late 80s. There's also like influences from Karen Carpenter and the Bee Gees, and um, there's a little bit of everything on that record, and it's just, influenced by, like I said, all the things that I love.
Yeah. What do you hope it says to people? What do you hope, people may have heard Brit Taylor in 2020 and been following your music. This is a new year. It sounds like a new you. You've got a lot going on in your life personally. What do you hope that this says to the world about your music and what you've been doing all these years?
I hope most of all that people just relate to it, that they listen to it and can insert their own stories and feel like they're a little less alone in those stories. That's what I loved about, those Patty Loveless songs. Even as a kid, I didn't know anything about divorce or anything like that, but one of my favorite songs was about was a divorce song, and the one about her mom that how can I help you say goodbye, about her mother, about moving from town and her mother passing away. Like, those were my favorite songs because they touched something very deep in me, because they just evoked this emotion. And whether it's a happy song or a sad song, I hope that people feel something when they listen to this record.
Yeah. Music can do that to us. It can do that in the same song. We can feel the highest of highs and the lowest of lows in one song, and it really can do that to your heart. Talk to me about having Sturgill Simpson be a part of this and be a part of the production of this record.
It's crazy. It's wild how it all came about, and it came about very quickly. I had texted David Ferguson one day after I had like a whole week of meetings with different producers, and I just wasn't feeling it. And so I had text Ferg, and I was like, "Hey, you know how to make country records. Let's just, me and you, go make a record, and we'll figure it out." And I thought I'll just self-fund it all again, and do whatever it takes. And he texted me back immediately and said, "How about me and Sturgill make a record?"
Wow.
I'm so sorry, my dog is
Oh, it's okay.
barking.
No.
um,
Real life. That's what I like about this. It's real life.
yeah, yikes. But I had just been offered a record deal like 3 months prior that didn't work out. It was one of the biggest heartbreaks of my life. It was awful. And so I was trying, like, don't get your hopes up, don't get your hopes up, don't get your hopes up. But they were just soaring through the clouds. There was nothing I could do about it. And but within like 30 minutes, Ferg had called back and said, "Hey, Sturgill's in. 30 Tigers is putting it out, and they're going to help us.
Wow.
They're going to help you fund it." Because I was like, I'm broke. I cannot afford Sturgill Simpson. Okay. And he was like, "Nope, 30 Tigers is going to help. Sturgill's helping. We're going to cut your record on August 26th, 27th, and 28th at Cowboy Jack's studio." And I was like, "What? Are you kidding me?" And then I guess that was 2 months prior. And so the whole 2 months I was like, "Please don't go away. Please happen. Please happen." And it happened.
What does that feel like to you to have somebody like Sturgill believe in you and believe in you enough to say, "I'm going to get this together. We're going to put this out into the world." And did you learn anything from the process from somebody like, Sturgill Simpson?
Yeah, it's so easy for me to just, like, I don't know, would question myself all the time and wondering if I'm doing the right thing. And Sturgill just really encouraged me to make up my own mind about a lot of things, whether it was because I sent in 25 songs or 30, and we all sat down together and we picked 12 or picked 15, right. And then we recorded 12. And then I, of course, loved all of them. And so I asked Sturgill, like, "Hey, I don't know which songs to not put on the record. Which two are we going to cut?" And he's like, "Well, it's your record. What do you want to cut?" And I'm just thinking, oh gosh, I don't know. And then even with the order of the songs, which is always really important to me.
Yeah.
And I asked him, like, "Hey, what's this? What do you think about this order? What do you think about that?" And he's like, "I think it's your record." And so he just, like, encouraged me to follow my gut and to just listen to myself.
Yeah,
I
and
think
that
is
goes back to
really,
that very freeing, but
really
also
cool.
very terrifying at the same time, it seems like too. Like, no, do I really have to make
Yes.
this decision? Yeah, I get that.
I know. I'm like, but I'd like a little help, please.
Just a little, just a little. Um, that record comes out in February. You've got already a slate of dates. You're going to be out on the road. You're going to be back in Kentucky. You're going to be at Railbird this year, right?
Yes.
That's
I am so
exciting.
excited about Real Bird. When I saw my name on that flyer, I was just over the moon.
Oh, that's awesome. I want to talk a little bit about obviously being from Eastern Kentucky and literally, I believe we're coming up on the 6 month anniversary of just devastating flooding. There's just so many words you could use for it. I'm a gal that I was fortunate enough to get my start in Eastern Kentucky. I went to school in Eastern Kentucky. So like it has my heart. So this event was more than just a news event to me. It really hit home for people. And I know for somebody like you that is home. And I know that you jumped right in and there were so many musicians that came together and brought your music together just to try and help. Talk to me about that and seeing it, witnessing it, but then also trying to do your part to just give back.
Yeah, I mean it's heartbreaking. It's not like that flood happened in an area where there's multiple resources, where you know um everybody has enough money and enough insurance to just rebuild. Just wasn't that. It's not that simple for East Kentucky. And we hold on to things unlike a lot of people. We hold on to our things and our the things that we pass down for generation after generation after generation, and those things were lost, and I don't know, it was just more heartbreaking than anything that I've ever seen. And I had teachers, their houses get flooded, like people that I knew personally, and kids that lost their parents, and like, I mean, it was just awful. And you can never do enough. It just feels like I wish that I could do so much more for that area than what I did. I just collected some supplies and took it down there, and I still feel like it's just not enough. And I wish I could do even more, but it it was just awful.
Yeah. I think it's one of the things that I love about Kentucky is that like when there is something we all pull together. But I do think that in the music world, and especially when you're talking about Eastern Kentucky musicians, like it is amazing to see people come together and use their talents to raise money, but also just put like this joyful sound out into the world at a time when people really needed it. And I saw that happen show after show after show, not just like the big show at Rupp, but just all the little shows at like the Burl and different places.
Yeah,
I think that's incredible.
I do too. It really creates a sense of community and lets you know that people have big hearts, and it just brings everybody together.
Yeah. Well, you got this album coming out. What's next for Brit? I mean, what you're gonna get on the road, you're gonna put it out there. I mean, like what's next? Are you working on anything? Do you automatically start working on something else now that this is getting ready to go out into the world? Are you gonna slow down for a minute? I don't know.
Oh gosh, I don't know how to slow down, but I
Same.
I think the goal is just to get these songs out into the world, and I'm really looking forward to touring. That's one thing that I haven't done as much of. Um, since I got here, I kind of just put my head down and wrote songs every day. And so I'm excited to get the opportunity to get out into the world and finally bring my music to people, because I think that that's what it's all about. And then of course I'm already, making a list of songs I want on the next record, and we're still writing songs to see if it's something that's going to fit the next record. So definitely always thinking about what's next, and I'm always itching to get back into the studio. So that's definitely a question in my mind, is like when can I make the next one?
You can never rest the mind when it comes that way. There are so many folks like yourself that they have a dream of wanting to make it to Nashville or just wanting to write songs or play songs. Did you have some advice along the way that somebody gave you that you think helped you get to where you are, or something that you've learned that that the younger folks coming up could learn from with you?
Yeah, I think that the thing that I would tell any young artist moving to Nashville is just, guard your heart.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean to be closed-minded. Always be open-minded. Listen to everybody. Listen to the advice that they give you. Try different things. Try to figure out who you are. But at the end of the day, after you've heard from everybody, after you've taken in all the advice and been very open minded about everything, go inside and spend some time with yourself and figure out what advice, if any, feels good and authentic to who you are, and to really question everything and make sure that you're the only one that's answering that, and at the end of the day, follow your heart and what feels the truest to you, because nobody else at the end of the day knows that. And if there were an exact route to success, it would be happening every day. There's just not. And I think the quickest way to success is just to being authentically who you are.
I think people, they just don't know. We could tell them 100 times over, they just don't know how hard it really is, and the work that has to go in, that it's not all bright lights, and that you do have to be really guarded with yourself. I think people just think it magically happens when it does happen, and they forget all of those years that you really just grinded it out and put in the work, right?
Yeah, everything looks like an overnight success, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, maybe that's changing a little bit if somebody goes viral on TikTok or whatever. Maybe that's a little different, but they're still going to have to put in the work, even if you do have, an immediate rush of fame. There's still work that you can't get around doing.
Sure. I talked about social media and how that, can get music out there. Did I see that you had a song featured on Tulsa King for Paramount Plus? Was one of your songs listed on there?
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen with so many artists, just with Yellowstone in 1883, and I'm a Zach Bryan fan, and so I've seen that. So that's gotta mean a lot to you when somebody sees your song and says it should be played here, and then next thing you know, you're like on a list that people can Google.
I know, it's crazy. I've been wanting a song on Tulsa King or Yellowstone, and it's been something. It's funny. It's a goal that you can set, but there's really nothing that you can do about it. It either just happens or it doesn't. And my husband and I had started watching Tulsa King, and we were sitting there watching it when I got the email from the girl that does music, that I would have that asking if I owned, the recording, and if I would care if it was in episode 7 of Tulsa King. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I just hit pause, and I looked at Adam, and my eyes were big and my face was pale, and he was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I just handed him the phone. He was like, are you kidding me? And we both just flipped out. And then of course I called my dad, because he had started watching the show too. And we're both like big Rocky fans and Sylvester Stallone fans. So everybody's just freaking out, but it was so cool.
Oh, Brit, and also speaking of the husband, you just recently got married. The photos are so beautiful. That dress was amazing. And fellow Eastern Kentuckian at that, right?
Yes, he's from Louisa. I think him and Tyler might have went to high school together for a little bit.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you guys feed off of each other from that creative perspective, in terms of this is, we're both kind of in this. Do you feed off of each other in that way, or are you pretty separate in what you do?
I think we have a good, healthy balance of that. We're both very much independent artists who come together and also can play music together, and respect each other's differences musically. Adam plays a lot with me, going on the road and stuff, which is so much fun. And he's so good at touring and all the details that I'm not good at. And he also is a co-writer on 2 of the songs on the record. So we wrote No Cowboys together, and we wrote If You Don't Want to Love Me together. So we definitely influence each other on the creative side, while also supporting each other's own individual artist careers.
Well, I know you are a busy gal, and you probably got a million other things to do today. So I'm just thankful for a little bit of your time. Kentucky Blue comes out February 3rd. If people want to keep up with you, they want to find you, they want to get the record, tell us all the things where people can find you, Brit.
Yeah, you can. So for the first time, my record is going to be on the shelves in local record stores. So you can find Kentucky Blue, the vinyl, in your local record stores or on my website. And on my website, I'll have the exclusive blue vinyl, Kentucky Blue vinyl. And
Important.
you can also find me on socials. You can get the record on Amazon. Very lucky that I have 30 Tigers helping me out this time with all that stuff. So, yeah, you can check me out at brittaylormusic.com and follow me on socials and all
What
that
will it
stuff.
be like to go in the store and as soon as it comes out? I know you've already seen it, but like in a real legit store and you walk in and you pick it up off the shelf, what will that feel like?
I can't even imagine. I'm so excited to do that. I'm probably going to bawl my eyes out. Um, but I do really look forward to going in, local record stores wherever I am, just seeing it there, and I'll probably be buying my own record.
What it's for. I named this podcast Uniquely Kentucky for folks just like you, that you make Kentucky so amazing in so many different ways, and you just add to the uniqueness of our home state. So from one Kentucky gal to another, thank you for your time. And Brit, best of luck, and we'll be listening and watching for you when you get back to Lexington, okay? Or Eastern Kentucky for that matter.
Yeah, thank you so much.